The clock on my dashboard showed exactly 8:17 in the morning when I realized my life depended on 3 short minutes. If I did not step inside that courtroom by 9, the judge would cancel the custody hearing completely. My 6-year-old daughter Clara sat in the back seat humming a quiet tune while tightly holding her plush bear. She had no clue that this drive was the boundary line between our freedom and a lifetime of control. My name is Joanna Vance, and I learned the hard way that shared blood does not guarantee safety. This legal battle was not about my former husband, because he had signed away his parental rights years ago after vanishing. The true threat came from my own parents, who secretly filed paperwork claiming I was an unstable mother. They could not accept that I wanted to live independently, so they decided to seize control of Clara instead. For 8 agonizing months, I gathered bank statements, medical records, and school reports to prove Clara was thriving under my care. I stored every single document inside a bright orange folder resting on the passenger seat beside me. The night before the hearing, my mother Beatrice stepped into my bedroom with a chilly smile. She offered to drop the case if I agreed to stay under her roof forever, but I chose peace over her manipulation. The next morning at breakfast, the entire house was eerily quiet as my father Arthur read his newspaper. Beatrice cooked food for Clara, while my younger sister Vanessa refused to look up from her phone. When we finally walked outside to leave, Beatrice stood on the porch waving while Vanessa was nowhere to be found. I buckled Clara into her seat and started the engine, completely unaware that a trap had already been set for us. We drove 4 miles before I approached a busy intersection and pressed my foot down on the brake pedal. The pedal slammed flat against the floorboard, and the vehicle did not slow down even a little bit. Panic surged through my chest as I swerved into an abandoned construction lot, scraping a wire fence before stopping in the dirt. I collapsed over the steering wheel in tears, realizing someone had intentionally sabotaged my vehicle to stop me. My phone buzzed in my hand, displaying a text from Vanessa stating we should have inspected the brakes first. Immediately after, a second message arrived from Beatrice warning that we would never leave them alive. My breath caught in my throat as a massive utility truck slowly pulled into the lot and stopped near us. A man wearing heavy work boots and a bright safety vest stepped out, staring intensely at the fluid leaking onto the gravel. The stranger knelt by my front tire and rubbed the dark fluid between his thick fingers. He introduced himself as Silas and explained that he had repaired heavy machinery for over 2 decades. Silas looked directly into my eyes and stated that the brake line did not burst naturally because it was sliced with a blade. My stomach churned with terror as Clara asked if we were still going to see the judge today. Silas reached for his phone to contact the authorities, but I grabbed his arm and begged him to stop. If I missed the hearing, my parents would win custody of Clara by default. I quickly explained the situation, the pending court date, and the terrifying messages from my family. Silas checked his watch, noting we had 22 minutes left, just as the court clerk called to warn me not to be late. Silas attached my damaged car to his trailer because he was already delivering equipment to the courthouse renovation. As we sped down the highway, my phone buzzed again with a horrific picture from Vanessa. She had dragged all my packed boxes onto the wet front lawn, scattering clothes and toys across the grass. Clara asked why her aunt was throwing her things away, forcing me to hide the screen in shame. We pulled into the courthouse parking lot at exactly 8:56 with only 4 minutes remaining. I saw Beatrice, Arthur, and Vanessa standing on the stone steps, looking disappointed to see me alive. Before I could unpack Clara, Arthur walked over to my window with an icy expression on his face. He whispered that I made a mistake by bringing 1 witness because they had brought 3 people to destroy me. I ignored the threat from Arthur, gathered Clara in my arms, grabbed my orange folder, and marched inside. Silas shouted a final piece of advice, telling me to let them lie because the truth survives longer than panic. The crowded hallway felt overwhelming as we entered the courtroom just as the bailiff announced case number 24. My parents sat across the room, flanked by 3 total strangers who were paid to lie about my character. The attorney representing Beatrice stood up and claimed these witnesses would prove my unstable behavior as a parent. The first woman took the stand, falsely claiming she saw me screaming at my daughter in public. The second witness lied about me leaving Clara alone in a dark vehicle for hours. I felt the gaze of the judge heavy upon me, wondering if he would believe their calculated fabrications. When it was my turn to speak, I walked to the stand and the judge asked why I arrived late. I stated that my reason was right outside, explaining that someone had sliced my brake lines that very morning. The courtroom erupted into loud murmurs as I handed my phone to the bailiff to show the judge the texts. The judge read the violent words aloud, causing Beatrice to nervously claim it was just a joke. Suddenly, the heavy back doors opened and Silas walked inside while still wearing his bright safety vest. He handed a sealed evidence bag containing my sliced brake line directly to the court clerk. A highway patrol officer entered right behind him, announcing that their official inspection confirmed the line was intentionally severed. The officer added that they recovered clear fingerprints from the vehicle, causing Vanessa to turn completely pale with fear. The officer informed the judge that security footage from a nearby store showed Vanessa underneath my car at dawn. Vanessa stood up abruptly and blurted out that she did not mean to cause harm, stopping herself too late. The judge strictly demanded that she finish her sentence, but neither of my parents uttered a word to protect her. A second evidence bag was produced, containing a utility knife covered in fresh brake fluid. Vanessa sobbed openly, confessing she only wanted to scare me so I would miss the legal hearing. The judge looked disgusted, pointing out that she risked the life of a young child in the process. He then turned his attention to Clara, gently asking her where she felt safest in the world. Clara stopped drawing on her notepad, looked up at the bench, and softly replied that she felt safest with Mommy. Clara added that at the house of her grandmother, she had to remain completely silent and hidden. The judge nodded slowly, closed the thick folder, and announced that the petition for guardianship was officially denied. He stated that the evidence showed a disturbing pattern of intimidation against me, and we were free to live anywhere. Arthur tried to object, but the judge firmly declared that family is not a license to destroy lives. Outside the courthouse, the heavy rain stopped and Silas smiled as he saw Clara skipping happily down the sidewalk. 2 months later, we moved into a beautiful little townhouse located 3 full counties away from my parents. As I tucked Clara into bed that evening, she whispered how wonderful it was that nobody knew our address. I realized that the broken car had not ruined my future, but had actually saved our lives.